This episode of The Young Turks is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook at audiblepodcast.com/TYT.
There's been analysis by Boston Consulting Group, they're one of the top management consulting groups, on what have been good investments and what industries have done well over the last 5 years. Now you want to guess the industry that has done the worst for its investors? Banking. Now you might say, wait a minute, now look, sure the banks crashed in 2008 and this is over the last 5 years, but the banking executives in those 5 years made a tremendous amount of money. They made it before the crash, then of course we bailed them out, and they went back to making record-breaking bonuses. I tell you about that all the time. So how could that not be a profitable industry? Well, it is profitable for the executives. It's not profitable for their investors. This is exactly what I'm telling you is the problem with our capitalist system right now. I believe in capitalism, but there's a huge loophole. We've got to close the loophole. The executives who run the companies don't give a damn about their investors. Forget the American taxpayer. Forget the rest of the country. Like if you say, hey, you know what, you got an oil company and they are polluting the environment and they don't care about the rest of the citizens. Okay, everybody's used to that. Everybody knows that. And there's some logic in it, right? It's not right, but there's logic in it. They make more money by polluting and they care more about their own company. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about people who are running companies who don't give a damn about the companies. They say, look, if Dick Fold runs Lehman Brothers, makes $600 million doing it, and then Lehman Brothers goes bankrupt, who cares? Dick Fold didn't own Lehman Brothers. He made his money anyway. Joe Cassano made $300 million at least at AIG. AIG goes bankrupt. Who cares? Joe Cassano already made the $300 million and he keeps it. And then the extra layer that this is talking about is, if you're an investor at a bank, you're a sucker. It is the single worst return for you out of all the different sectors, whether it's energy, telecom, technology, even healthcare, okay? So, you know what the return was over those 5 years? Minus 1.9%. And that's with the taxpayer bailouts. If there wasn't taxpayer bailouts, the whole thing would have collapsed and all the investors would have lost almost all of their money. Look, we're all suckers at the table. The investors in the banks are the suckers. The people who put their money in there and get the overdraft fees, et cetera, et cetera. The guys who took out mortgages with those banks, which now the banks are dying to foreclose on, right or wrong. The American taxpayer, the only people who win are the bankers running the banks. They keep taking all the money out of the system and giving it to themselves. When are we going to wake up to that? Apparently not anytime soon. There's a story out about how the United States Justice Department was advising Bank of America on who they should hire to go after WikiLeaks. Instead of saying, hey, WikiLeaks might be doing a leak on Bank of America that tells us the fraud that they committed, that could be interesting for the Justice Department. Maybe you can actually prosecute some of the bankers for all the fraud that they committed. They go, no. We're going to go in the opposite direction. And we're going to talk to Bank of America lawyers about who they should hire. And they suggested that they hire Hunton & Williams, the company that later went on to hire the private security firms, cyber security firms, that was going to target not only WikiLeaks, but journalists like Glenn Greenwald. Now, I'm not saying the Justice Department told them to go hire the cybersecurity firm and do the hit job on Greenwald, etc. But here's the Justice Department, instead of investigating Bank of America, telling them, oh, you should go hire this law firm to help you protect your interests, etc. Why? Are you the lawyers for Bank of America? You're supposed to be investigating them, not protecting them. But the reality is you got that revolving door. And so the guys that work in the Justice Department, one day, they can't wait to work as lawyers for Bank of America because that pays better. So they're all buddies, and they all keep shifting between those jobs. Matt Taibbi wrote a great article about this. And that's how the system works, and that's how Bank of America gets protected. And WikiLeaks, which is actually doing real journalism, gets, hit jobs on them, in this case, from that security firm. And we've told you about that in the past. And one last thing here. There are, protests spreading throughout America, and I love it. The National People's Action Group and the Public Accountability Initiative have started doing protests at different banks, and this time they targeted Bank of America in Washington, D.C. First, let me tell you their sign, which I couldn't love enough. The sign said, "We found the money." It's right here, okay? Now, Bank of America paid no taxes last year, loopholes, et cetera, et cetera. But over the last 5 years, the top 6 banks have paid an effective tax rate of 11%. Now, their tax rate is supposed to be 35%, but they're only paying 11%. Why? Because they bought politicians who wound up giving them those huge tax loopholes. And the point that these groups are making is, if they had paid the full 35% over those 5 years, I'm sorry, over the 2 years, I should clarify, 2 years, we would have been able to hire the 132,000 teachers that have been laid off since the recession that the bank started began. And we'd be able to hire them for 2 years. So, my bad. You know, I got that wrong again. Every time I'm giving the banks too much credit. Okay. If they had paid their full taxes just last year, we'd be able to hire those 132,000 teachers for 2 years. So, I mean, look, last thing on this. Think about that. As a priority for the American people. I mean, we're supposed to live in a democracy. You know, if you vote for politicians, what do you want them to do? You want them to support bankers who pay, you know, less than a third of what they're supposed to pay? Or do you want to support 132,000 teachers that teach our kids? It should be a no-brainer, and it is, except what they do is those banks funnel that money to the politicians, and then the politicians run all these ads and they drown out the other side, and they convince American people, they trick the American people into thinking that they're on their side, and as soon as they get into office, they give the banks even more breaks. They go to protect them, as the Justice Department is doing with Bank of America, and they go to attack their enemies. And what do? They lay off teachers. These are pilots. It's not theoretical. 132,000 teachers have been fired since the recession. That's the reality of our politics, man. I know it sucks, and we got to change it. But Wisconsin and these protests are a very good beginning to going towards that change. Audible.com is the leading provider of audiobooks. They've got 75,000 different titles. A book I've always meant to read but didn't have time for is Guns, Germs, and Steel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to it through Audible.com. Actually, if you're a Young Turks listener, you get a free audiobook at audiblepodcast.com/TYT.